Hi again. Welcome back to my kitchen. Today we're going to be making Tuscan chicken pasta while practicing our boiling and simmering skills. Let's go. Step 1, cook your pasta. I'm personally using Cavatappi, but you can use any noodle you'd like. Cook according to package instructions. I have a large pot of water on high heat trying to bring it to a boil. A boil is a temperature of 212 degrees or 100 degrees Celsius. Here's a side-by-side comparison of a boil and a simmer. At the bottom we have the pot simmering. There's bubbles present, but they're not rolling super heavily and they're quite small. But on the right we have a full-on boil with heavy rolling bubbles. Now we have reached boiling point. We know that our water is boiling when we can see bubbles vigorously rising up to the surface and staying on the surface of the water. Now we add our pasta. We're cooking our pasta to al dente, so take whatever time is on your package and subtract 1 to 2 minutes. On our cutting board today, we have 4 cloves of garlic. I already went ahead and minced 2, some basil, and if you have not bought the julienne cut of sun-dried tomatoes, you will need to cut up your sun-dried tomatoes. The julienne cut is the way to go. They come cut up and ready for you to cook with, and you won't have to do any extra work or clean up. In our last episode, we worked on knife skills, so I just wanted to take the time to review. We are gonna pinch our knife like this, and our hand will be in a bear claw position, and I'm gonna go ahead and mince up these 2 garlic cloves. Now that my garlic's all minced up, I'm gonna show you a fun way to chop our basil. This technique is called chiffonading. I'm gonna take my basil leaves and stack them up. We wanna create a pile of basil. Once we've created a small pile of basil, we're gonna roll it up as tight as we can get it. And then we're gonna take our chef knife and cut on the diagonal. This is called chiffonading. And then we will have strings of basil. In a bowl, I have 1.5 pounds of boneless, skinless chicken breast. To it, I'll add 2 tablespoons of olive oil. If you really want to be fancy, you can use the oil from your sun-dried tomatoes. Next are 4 cloves of garlic, 2 teaspoons of Italian seasoning, and finally salt and pepper to taste. Give that a good mix together. Now I'm never going to tell anybody how they should season their chicken, so if you want to add some different spices and seasonings, you go on right ahead. To cook my chicken, I'm adding it to a pan over medium-high heat and letting it get brown for about 3 minutes. Chicken gets brown, I start it on our sauce. Our sauce is a base of 3 cups of milk and 2 tablespoons of flour. Then we'll give that a whisk until I see no more lumps. To our brown chicken, I'm adding sun-dried tomatoes. Now, if you remember from last week, tomatoes are a great source of lycopene, but sun-dried tomatoes have an even higher concentration of lycopene than fresh tomatoes. I'll let this cook for about 5 to 7 minutes. Now my pan is on the smaller side, so I went ahead and transferred my chicken and sun-dried tomatoes to a bigger pot. Now we add in our milk and flour mixture and let it come up to a simmer. Our sauce has now reached a simmer, and we're gonna let it sit like this for 3 to 4 minutes. A simmer is a temperature of 180 degrees to 190 degrees. The purpose of the simmer in this dish is to thicken up our sauce so it's not runny. Once our sauce was ready, I added 3 cups of spinach, chopped of course, and I continued to cook it until it wilted. Now to interrupt your regularly scheduled programming for a segment I like to call Food for Thought. Today I have with me spinach and basil. Spinach is nutrient dense. It's high in vitamins A, K, C, and folate. She is also an excellent source of fiber, which is great for your digestive health. Now for one of my favorite herbs, basil. Basil is high in calcium, magnesium, and vitamin K, which are all great things for blood clotting and bone health. There are even some studies to suggest that eating basil can lower your blood sugar, which is an excellent thing. Now back to the good stuff. It's now time to add our pasta back to our sauce, along with half a cup of Parmesan cheese. And last but certainly not least, the basil. Listen to me when I say, do not put your basil in the fridge. She is a temperature-sensitive girly and does not like to be cold. She will wilt and turn brown. If you want our basil to stay nice and green for our pasta, keep it in a room temperature location. And here's our finished product. This recipe was completed in even fewer steps than last week and took less time. It's loaded with vitamins and minerals, and it's super delicious. We used our boiling skills when boiling our pasta water and simmering when thickening up our pasta sauce. Now let's give it a try. Delicious. Your leftovers can be safely stored in the fridge for 3 days. That's all for today. See you next week. Now let's review. What's the difference between a boil and a simmer? If you answered A, pat yourself on the back.